Hey everybody, I'm here at the foothills of the Helderbergs out in Voorheesville at the Cornell Cooperative Extension. And I was thinking, we're just now getting into this cold and we certainly have plenty of it to go before we're back into some warmer weather. So we're thinking about things like indoor humidity and also maybe about plants. What might be a good plant for you to keep inside as we head through this winter, with the challenges being drafts, dry air, and lower sunlight? I'm going to step inside and talk with Carol Henry, a master gardener here at the Cornell Cooperative Extension, and we'll answer some of those questions for you.
The first challenge is when you bring your plants in that have been outside. When you bring them in the fall from being outdoors in the bright sunlight, and you bring them into a climate where it's not quite as bright and the temperatures are different, the whole environment's different, there are many plants that will just drop their leaves, and that's normal. Things like hibiscus, things that are tropical, fig plants, many of the plants like that will actually just drop their leaves and then they will reflourish and bring out the leaves. That's usually one of the first things people call about is the fact that my plant, I think, is dying now that I brought it indoors. But it's just a difference in climate and it needs to get used to the new environment. If you put such as a poinsettia coming into the holiday season here, you need to make sure that poinsettia is away from cold drafts. It will turn black instantly. So you have to make sure they're not touching the window, like the leaves aren't touching the window. The plant might need to be in the window, but if it actually comes in contact with it or gets a really cold draft, you may see parts of the plant dying from the draft.
And what are some good indoor wintertime plants for this area, do you think?
Really, any of your tropical plants, your tropical foliage plants are best. Flowering plants don't do so well in the wintertime because there's not enough sun to get them to flower, but any of your tropical foliage plants that you can get at any garden center, peperomias are good, philodendrons, things that need lower light, you'll be very successful with, or succulents, don't take much water.
Okay.
So.
And then some of the other pitfalls that could come with caring for winter plants inside. Go through a couple of those.
Okay.
Lack of sunlight, you said, was one.
Lack of sunlight. You do need to watch when you do buy that plant at the store. Most plants will have a tag in it. Make sure to read the tag. Some plants will tell you if they need low light or if they need bright light. You want to make sure you're buying the right plant for the right location in your house.
Okay.
If you don't have a bright window, you want to get something that can survive in a lower light situation. So always read the tags before you purchase, or ask the person at the garden center to recommend something that will grow in your conditions.
I see.
The second thing people tend to do is either underwater, don't water enough, or they overwater and they flood the plant. Underwater can cause a problem where your leaves will brown on the edges, things like that will happen, leaves will fall off. And a lot of the potting mixes, the soil actually shrinks inside the pot, so then when you do water it, there's this gap and the water goes down the sides and out through the bottom, and the plant's actually not getting watered. So if you let it dry out too much, that happens. The other issue is if people who water too often. In the wintertime, unless it's near a heat source where it gets hot air blowing on it or overly warm, the soil doesn't dry out as fast. You don't want to overwater. You don't want to have a saturated soil. You want the water to run through. You don't want a saucer underneath with water sitting in it. You want to make sure all the water is absorbed and that the plant's not sitting in it, because you can cause root rots and funguses. And sometimes if you're overwatering, you can even end up with fungus gnats, little gnats flying out of your pot that have now hatched because they need that extra moist soil.
One of the plants I was reading a little bit about that does well in this type of environment is this plant that's right next to you here.
Yep.
This is a jade plant.
This is a jade plant. It doesn't need much care. It is in the succulent family. Overwatering will be a real issue with this. You don't want to overwater it. It will drop its leaves if it's overwatered. It'll get yellowy looking. They don't need a lot of care. They don't need a lot of fertilizer. They do need some direct light. So direct light is best. That's why we have it here in the window.
Okay.
This plant has been here for 40 years, and it's keeps
40 years.
40 plus years, and it keeps growing, and it's doing very well. We do put it outside in the summer, but you do have to watch with succulents when you put them outside in the summer because they can get sunburn. So you always have to make sure you put it not in the bright sunlight when it goes outdoors,
Okay.
because the leaves will actually burn. You need to put it where it's a filtered light or underneath an eave.
Well, that sounds like we have another segment set up for
Yes,
us here
for
once
spring.
we get rid of all that waste stuff behind you on the ground.
Yes.
That is great. Carol, thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome. Thank you.